out 300,000 square meters of living space for the officer corps in the city. This is an unprecedented act in its scale. The president has signed a decree giving 40,000 hectares of land near Moscow for building of cottages to the residents of Moscow and Moscow region, with the proportion 2/3 of the land to Moscow residents and 1/3 to residents of Moscow region in these zones which were formerly and currently occupied by military units. I believe that 2 or 3 years, if we continue working in this along these good faith agreements, we can solve the problems of the Moscow officers, their housing problems, and we can also solve other socially significant problems. Earthly problems are showing themselves in space. The financial problems of the recent months are being calculated by the Mission Control Center. They can't even calculate the cost of a spacewalk, but nevertheless, today's planned spacewalk by Alexander Volkov and Sergei Krikolyov will take place. Sergei Slipchenko reports. This is perhaps the only place where the red Soviet flag still flies and no one is trying to take it down, is the mere space station in space. There were reports today that the cosmonauts are taking the spacewalk only in order to remove the flag. This, thank goodness, was a joke. An hour of spacewalk costs 200,000 rubles, according to journalists, and this money cannot be spent on politics. In several minutes, the astronauts will open this hatch and come out into the space. Their spacewalk will last 4 hours, 15 minutes, during which they will remove old apparatus from the exterior of the module and replace it with new apparatus. They are collecting materials to return to Earth with. They're collecting 60 kilograms of objects for scientists on Earth, including the elements of solar batteries, pieces of mylar film, microchips, and other electronics. Optics, as we know, quickly deteriorate in space. This relates to lenses, lights, and all kinds of glass. There are 2 ways of combating this problem: crude physics, crude mechanics, or clever physics. The cosmonauts are trying this clever physical way. The lenses of the television cameras become fogged with the changes of temperatures. The cosmonauts have a special apparatus to defog the lens. This experiment is very interesting to our current American friends. We are experimenting and they are observing what we do. We are awaiting their dangerous and necessary mission. Good luck. Incidentally, our cosmonauts will return to Earth into a different country from that which they launched into space. A strange thing is happening with Aeroflot. Not long ago, this aviation company was the largest in the world. It served the capitals of all the countries of the world and 3,600 cities in the USSR. Today, Aeroflot no longer exists. The Commonwealth countries are dividing its property. Last week, finally, an inter-republican aviation committee was created, but the air traffic controllers of Russia and Ukraine were opposed to it. It's possible that beginning tonight at midnight, the air traffic controllers will stop their work. Exceptions will be made only for airplanes which are on rescue missions. The Russian air traffic controllers will all be joined, apparently, by their Belarusian and Ukrainian colleagues. The airspace of our Commonwealth could be blockaded for an indeterminate time. What made the air traffic controllers take these extreme measures? They have a slogan: a hungry surgeon is dangerous. I believe everyone knows that as soon as we become an air passenger, we place our lives in the hands of the pilot and the air traffic controller. The traffic controllers are demanding a 36-hour work week, 48 days of vacation, changes in their pension rules. They are demanding that there be no layoffs of air traffic controllers. They have their own proposals to organize air traffic control work. They're trying to help help the government solve the problem. Today, for the second time, the representatives of the Russian government met with the Union of Air Traffic Controllers. It is not clear today whether there will be a strike, but TASS reports that the Vyatka air traffic controllers will not strike because local authorities have met their demands, and the traffic controllers of Moscow's airport Sheremetyevo 1 will continue work because they believe striking is a crime. Russian General Procurator Stepankov told the president of the Air Traffic Controllers Federation Yevtyukov today that a strike could cause a great threat to the safety of flights and possibly cause the death of people. If this is the case, the Procurator's office will take all of the measures provided by law. In the market, only the strong survive. Paper prices have risen by 10 times, and expenses on distribution are expensive as well. This is resulting in the closing of many newspapers and magazines. In Latvia, there's a protest by journalists and publishers called A Week Without the Press. The Fourth Estate does not conceal its desperation, but is also demonstrating its strength in order to attract attention to its problems. There's a severe paper shortage. It is growing. The prices are increasing. And this, they believe, threatens to close 799 publications in Latvia. Of course, the fact that there are no newspapers in Latvia, this is a bad situation. But I also believe that we could have solved this problem without this protest, and the society, I think, is on the side of the government more than on the side of the publishers. However, we should look for a solution to this problem. What is your relationship with our former partners? The relations are being hampered by the indeterminate nature of intergovernmental relations. Our customs posts on the Russian border do not allow paper shipments to enter Latvia, even by written agreement. A similar situation is faced by many central newspapers. Yesterday, the newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda was not published. Today, the newspaper Trud did not appear. The Moscow Komsomolets paper will have to raise its retail price to 60 kopecks, and by beginning in March, there will be a renewed subscription effort for all these newspapers. The largest newspapers are in the worst situation because they have the largest paper expenditures. They are trying to renegotiate their subscription rates, but the legality of this move is in question. These and other issues were discussed at a meeting between editors and the Russian Parliamentary Commission today. Our committee does not have the power to solve this issue, but we propose a series of measures and decisions on budget allocations and tax policy, subsidies to the newspapers or tax incentives. In the Parliament and the government, there is no single opinion on which of these two means is better for supporting newspapers. But this is a very serious problem, which apparently doesn't affect joke books. They seem to have plenty of paper to print on. The planned session of the Cabinet of Ministers was devoted to a press conference by the economic advisor to the Russian government, Alexei Ulikayev. He reported that the topic of discussion today would be the stabilization of economic links, both within Russia and between the CIS countries. The Russian economy is very highly monopolized, he said, as a result of which we are entering a distorted market. Of 2,000 identified monopolies, 100 have been determined to be especially harmful because they are raising prices by 30 to 40 times, demanding payment for their goods in hard currencies, etc. The government will have a special system of regulations to govern these monopolies. The advisor refused to name these 100 monopolies, but said that measures of punishment taken against them would not hurt the economic interests of other companies. Journalists were able to determined today that the paper producers fall onto this list of 100. During privatization of enterprise, the advisor said that land will also be privatized along with them. He said he has always been an optimist and said that there would be no monetary reform or introduction of special Russian money because the ruble has shown its viability and the demand for it is rising. He promised that in 2 months the dollar will cost no more than 50 rubles and 30 by the end of the year. Today, there was a press conference by the acting Prime Minister of Georgia, Sigua. He declared that he has decided not to participate in the new elections. This was reported by Iprinda news agency. On the background of the stabilization of the situation in Georgia, new economic and social problems are appearing like mushrooms after a rainstorm. The new provisional government has a very limited reserve of trust with which to deal with these problems. There is no popular political leader like Yeltsin in Russia who is popular enough to undertake unpopular measures. And there are also no reserves of national resources which could defend the population a little bit against astronomical prices. Therefore, the government and the people cannot get by without help. But who will give it? The West? American jets are bypassing Georgian airports, so we cannot hope for help from the West. Therefore, we have to count on the former Soviet republics. Today, Zviad Gamsahurdia and Jahar Dudayev continued their negotiations in Grozny. Interfax reports that they discussed the issue of creating a union of Caucasian states and also the issue of mutual